Hey guys, Gambling CS here. Excuse me. I'm doing a new channel, or well, not really a new channel, new video. This one's going to be explaining, not really steps, but showing my progress of a new axe and a new project I'm doing. This one is an old axe made by Alltrade, and it's about 15-20 years old. Japanese made, 3.5 pound head, and I'm thinking like an oak shaft. Can't really tell. No, it wasn't of the highest quality. It was one of those junker axes I found. This one actually came from my friend's grandma's house. We were rebuilding it, and well, not really. We were renovating it, and she let us take whatever she did, like all the junk that she was clearing out. She rented out to people out here, mostly college students, which is pretty nice. And so she had a broken axe. This one was broken. It was a full-sized haft. That was about 30 something more inches, 30 or 36. So as you can see, it's still the main haft up until this point. Actually, it's down here. It went up to about here, I believe. So it was a pretty good sized axe. The axe head had already broken off, and it was just kind of crumbling at the top. The rest of it was still fine, which is why I'm using it. So my idea was to turn it into a nice camp axe. So what I've done so far is I've cut this down to a 24-inch length. And I've had to actually splice on a new part, a new filler, because as you can tell from this cutout inside the axe, it wouldn't fit the standard size shaft. So I had to expand it, like most axes have when they reach near the connection to the head. So I had to custom build that. So I took the remainder of the chunk I cut off, the 6 or so inches up here, and cut it down to form and welded it, epoxied, JB welded, epoxied, and Gorilla Glue. There we go. Actually, 2 layers of Gorilla Glue, epoxied, then JB weld. That was the order I put them in. Basically, slapped them all on here and clamped them down, held it tight, and made it nice and sanded and finished. I'm actually still working on it, sadly. So I have this nice finished head up here. Now the problem that I made, or the problem I made was that I put the splice onto the front. Traditionally, axes, because the force is coming down on the head and it is facing this way. This axe head is, imagine as if it was right here. The force would be pushing this way when you're chopping with it, so you need the actual backing here so that when the leverage hits it, or when it's kind of torquing itself backwards, it doesn't snap off the head. Now, the way I did it, I put it in the front. That's kind of a problem, especially for an axe of this design. However, it is a camp axe, so what I've done is modify the haft and the axe design on the head to accommodate for this mistake I made. I should have done more research, and that's something I should really point out to you guys. If you ever start a project, please do a lot of research so you know what you're getting into, and you can kind of troubleshoot things. What I've done is I knew I had to cut down the head because it was a 3.5 pound head. Average size for a 24-inch to 26-inch haft would be 1 3/4 pounds to 2 pounds, I believe. That's the average. So as you can tell, you can kind of see the design I've drawn on there. You can better see it on this side. This is the new axe head design, as you can tell. Ignore this line. That was just me troubleshooting this. See, what I figured out is, if I flip this over, the axe haft is actually going to go about right there, and that's generally what it's going to look like. I'm going to cut off this chunk right up here. I'm going to leave about a 1/4 inch, actually 1/8 to 3/16, I believe, is what they prefer, but I kind of want to go with a 1/4 inch instead of how it is. So I'll leave a 1/4 inch on the top of this blue line. That's where it's going to be cut off, or that's where it ends, the axe head. So this is the general shape. Now what I've done is I've slightly modified it. You can see this very faint line right here. That's where I prefer. That's kind of like the sweet spot, I believe, on my axe, on the axe I'm designing. What I prefer, what I'm expecting to happen is when the force comes down, it'll hit on this line, which is about 1/8 of an inch below the ending line of the connection, and hopefully the force won't go straight backwards and torque the head this way. It'll torque it downwards a little bit, forcing it down onto the front half the axe haft, so it will put the force onto the strengthened part instead of onto this nice flat back I have. So that's what I'm hoping for. Pending how it turns out when I cut this down to size, we'll see how it goes. But that's what I'm planning. Another problem that I knew I'd have to run into is this axe head. Because of the quality of the axe, or lack thereof, it's not good steel at all. It's really quite pot metalish. What I think they did is they took mild steel and then welded on, or probably welded on a piece of high carbon steel about 3/4 of an inch along the strip, and that is the blade. Because of the design, you can obviously see it's going to get cut off about 1.25 inches farther up here. So that high carbon steel, or even mid-grade carbon steel, is going to come off, so I'm just going to be left with mild steel. My options to finish this are either A, get a new axe head, which is very expensive and I don't want to do. B, I can try to heat treat this axe head, do kind of a differential heat treat, slather on the clay all along here, and have a half inch or so of, actually I'll probably do a full inch of heat treated, whatever kind of steel this is. I'll probably get some carbon, something grinded up, and try to like smother it on while I'm heat treating it or something. I'll troubleshoot that later, but I could do that, or option C, do the same thing they did here, find a strip of high carbon steel and forge weld it to the blade. That's actually a very traditional thing. Lots of Finnish makers remember doing that. That's also what they do for traditional Japanese katanas. They'd have a core of softer, mild steel, and then the outer shell will be high carbon steel. So they have this spine, so it'll take a lot of abuse, but it'll still have a sharp edge. So those are my options. I'll see how it goes. This axe head design, I think, will come out to about 1.75 pounds, a bit on the lighter side, but with this length haft, I think it'll work out to be a pretty good chopper and splitter. What else can I say about this? I'm going to have to sand this whole thing down. They put a varnish on it, and you're not supposed to varnish the axe haft or anything. Any wooden tool you're using, you're not supposed to have a varnish on them. So what you really should do is get some low grit sandpaper. What I have over here, bits and pieces, more JB Weld. I've got everything from 50 grit sandpaper all the way to 1,000. And I'm just going to start out and do the same thing like I would on a knife, and just kind of go from that lower to the higher, and get it nicely worked. And then I'll do 3 or 4 coats of linseed oil, possibly stain it. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But this is what's basically turn out. It's not completely finished. You can tell right up here. I have a little bit. I mean, it fits, but it didn't. Actually, there's 4 pieces spliced on here. There's the actual haft, which ends right here. You can actually right here. This divide line. It goes out to about here and then all the way up. That's one piece, and that's been tacked on and welded on. That's one. Second one from about right here down to here is another piece, because it was still at an angle. I couldn't get a full chunk on there, so I had to slap on another piece. But when I made this angle, I didn't compensate for that, so I've had to make it aesthetically pleasing. I've added on an extra piece. I'm going to sand that down, add more JB Weld. Try to get this to a nice flat flush angle. Let's see how that goes. But I don't know. I don't think it'll be too terrible. As long as I don't abuse it or put it to incredibly heavy use, I'm sure it'll suffice. If not, then I think I'm just going to get a whole new axe and just go from there. But yeah, so this is what I've done so far. That's all JB Weld sanded down. Looks pretty nasty. I've done a few different coats. First layer was a 1-to-1 ratio of steel to hardener, and the next one was a 1-to-3 of steel and hardener. The reason I do that is because the extra layer outside, it's going to be put through a lot of force, and I'm expecting cracks in there sometime. So this 1-to-3 ratio will act as kind of a filler. So when it gets cut down and there's a crack that forms, hopefully this putty will be. It's not really actually putty. It's just like a softer version of JB Weld. Like it's indentable with my fingernail. Hopefully it'll be squished down into that crack, and kind of save the material. That's what I'm hoping. Otherwise, it's just going to be stretching and cover up the crack, and I won't see it till it's too late, and I lose my axe head or cause an injury. So it's a bit of a gamble, but I'm willing to risk it. I'm definitely going to do some test shots with this first before I send it out in the wild, because this is a camp axe, or at least that's the design. Aside from that, the grain, it's pretty straight, as you can tell. It's diagonal. I'm not sure if that makes too much of a difference. I know I've seen professionals do it, and they always have the grain straight forward, but this is a production axe. It's not actually a nice custom. This is this is my Jimmy rigging right here. So we'll see how it goes. For those who want to see the logo on this, let's see if I can get All-Trade on there. Yeah, it's nice and dark. So you see All-Trade, and to the right of that blue line, you see 3.5 pounds, made by Japan. Now that thing that says made by Japan, I'm kind of curious about that, because I don't know if that's going to be a decently good steel or if it's going to be really bad steel. I know Germany, Sweden, and the US back in the day made the good stuff for these axes, and then everything got moved over for higher production rates in China, Taiwan, and all that, and those are the ones that use the really crappy steel. But Japan, I'm not really so sure. I kind of want to say that yes, they make good stuff, but I don't know. It's really quite a toss-up for me. Anyway, I just thought I'd like to show you guys my new project, one of a bajillion. Just like these jeans, get some paint out. I'm running low on jeans. That's bugging me. Also working on my bike, or selling it, whichever. Oh, for those who don't know, I had a motorcycle for about 2 months. A 1980 Suzuki GS 1000G. Got in a crash 2 weeks ago, and I'm fine. The worst thing that happened is my elbow got scraped up, needed 4 stitches, and they're already out. Now it's just a big scab. I'm going to have a big indent in my elbow now as a scar, which I think is kind of cool. But yeah. And, yeah, so I thought you guys should see one of my mini projects. Alrighty guys, thank you very much, and have a nice day.